In my in search, from what I was researching and writing earlier, um, I came across um, information about diamond energy, and in that I found, again, more affirmation in regard to theories that I had been developing in regard to diamonds being used as energy. And what I didn't realize was there were already people either uh, using me as an information resource, as in subliminally extracting information from my thought processes and or my children's. And I'll mention them here because this actually is okay information for children to, like middle school age children, um, to have, uh, particularly my children, because I know how we're used as information resources and intellectual resources, and we have not yet been compensated for our contributions to uh, to such technologies as this newest one, from what I can find and research, Diamond Energy. And there's evidently also a company called Diamond Energy, but it's coming onto the market as a viable energy resource, and being developed. And I know that I and my children are part of the development process of the technology, and so I'm going to expect to receive financial compensation, um, for myself and for my biological children, which who include Jennifer Johnson, Elsa Borta, Harlan Borta, Tristan Johnson, and myself, of course, and my grandchildren. So I'm going to put a monetary value on just what I'm contributing right now, as I don't know, like $4 million. Um, Laugh if you will. Um, I had noticed recently, and I know that um, Colorado hasn't gone public with information regarding to diamond digging in the area. Uh, First and foremost, because my name is on the one of the mines that have been dug. So the $4 million that I spoke of has to do with information and my research, and my research, not to do with land ownership rights that I have to Henderson Diamond Mines. That's a completely separate and much more lucrative issue for myself and my biological children and my biological grandchildren. Um, I noticed recently, and again, I know that Boulder and the state of Colorado haven't gone public with information about diamond digging in the mines. However, there's been a lot of increased activity and people coming to Colorado, and you ask the question why, and the assumption would be, and it brings to mind right now that the information I've been receiving in regard to why are so many people moving to Colorado and why is there so much digging. First of all, the theory about the increased construction, I think is a cover for the fact that diamonds are being dug are a huge uh, industry right now in Colorado. I think it always has been, but I think possibly there's been so much just as in land wars, it's the same kind of thing. And information about the Henderson Diamond Mine was not given to me, and I wasn't making the connection of the name. I just thought, oh gosh, isn't that coincidental that Henderson coal diamond mine, because it used to be Henderson Coal Mine. When I first moved to Colorado, it was called Henderson Coal Mines. And now I think that the state is on the verge of going public with information about diamonds. But that stuff aside, the I noticed that it's a really strange phenomenon going on that I'm noticing. And I've talked before about frequency levels and communication levels, and where I am physiologically comfortable in different frequency levels. And when I'm pulled into lower frequency levels, I become irritated and agitated. It's a physiological response. And so I don't like being pulled down into lower frequency levels, because I don't like becoming irritated and agitated. The and there's different factors of mood and everything that contribute to my mental health, but that's one that isn't it isn't talked about in like mental health psychology, and I know that it's real. But something that I've been noticing about this area, and again, sort of affirmation on the internet as I sign on, and your opening page to what's it called, Microsoft Outlook or whatever it is. That when certain people or energies move towards me, it's like time speeds up, and I like look at my watch, and my physical energy feels drained, like, and it's an immediate physical again, a physiological response. And one of those things I noticed is within the electric automobile and electric bicycle. I don't like, because again, it affects my psyche. I feel irritated, and that I imagine it's a negative charge coming that is used, and the energy that's generated within the system of an electric automobile, it's a negative field. And and I feel like my physical energy is drained, but of course my the energy of um movement, being able to get to from point A to point B, the implication is that the energy is increased. There's increased energy because it takes less time. Um, so, and when I say the implication, I'm saying that, like, I expect my physical energy to increase because I'm riding on a bicycle, but because it's an electric bicycle, the end result is that I'm actually, first of all, I'm irritated. It's an irritating connection that affects my psyche, and my physical overall energy level is decreased when I walk past or ride or I don't want to say ride past because I haven't ridden past. Um, and and then I started to notice that was the first thing that I noticed. The first thing that I actually noticed is the fact that I felt irritated, like psychologically irritated, and and really no reason why. No, there would be no reason why, because this person passed me on a bicycle coming this way and I'm walking the other way. Like suddenly I'm irritated and I don't know why, because either I don't know the person, there's no reason for me to, but there is a physiological response when an electric bicycle or a person with a I can tell the different frequency level that when this happens of communication. And um and there's all things to consider and explain in this, because some people I think have accepted and possibly worked through or worked with. I don't want to, because I don't like the I don't like being electrically connected to. I feel like I'm gonna turn into a robot or a zombie or something. So I don't want that. I don't want that as part of my um day-to-day existence. Um so the effect of feeling agitated was the first thing I noticed. The second thing I noticed was the drain of physical energy. And the third thing that I noticed was time. And I started noticing, honestly, that when somebody passed me going this way, going the opposite way of which I'm walking, um, it's like they're on a bicycle and they zoom by me, and maybe two or three people zoom by me, and one or two people zoom by me going in the same direction. But I think that there is a correlation between frequency levels and my physical energy level and time. And when I got on right before, well, actually, probably what catalyzed my thought processes um, back to this topic, because I have formed and formulate or began formulating a theory with in regard to this, what I'm talking about, long before this thing about the earth spinning so fast that the clocks can't keep up. And when I saw that, I started thinking, what is that about? And then I was like, oh my gosh, that has to do also with this phenomenon that I'm experiencing, where I'm like, when I'm walking from point A to point B, and it usually takes me only like a half an hour. And then other times it's like I look at my watch and I get to point B, and it's like it took like an hour instead of a half an hour. And I started to think, is something speeding up time, like even on my clock? And I think it's very possible. I think it's very possible. And so I started to think, uh, okay, a diamond energy, I think, is a positive charge. So I started to look that up. And so I'm wondering, or my theory is that, and I'm starting to realize people have made fun of me to such a degree that it's to part of the scientists and those who are in the industry of what I'm talking about, and making money on what I'm talking about, have a hard time acknowledging someone that they've spent so much time making fun of. The the fact that the electromagnetic field of the earth is changing, or there's definitely something changing within the time and space of the earth. And it's really interesting because it also connects to the I don't want to talk about really the war of Ukraine and Russia, but a lot of times treasures are part of uh, the goal of a war or the subject of a war. And I think that the clock in the town square, and I mentioned it on my Facebook page just in passing, and I've shut down my Facebook page since, because I think it's really possible. And I think that I shut down my Facebook page for other reasons than this. So I don't want to zero in on the fact that this was one of the last postings before I shut down my Facebook page. The clock in town square in Russia is a very complicated instrument. And I can't remember who designed it. And right now it's not as important as just the acknowledgement that whenever that clock, and whoever designed that clock and whenever it was designed, that person might have a connection to it, and his or her lineage an intrinsic connection to the adjustment of time and the Earth's position in the solar system, and how things are changing in the world of physics. And I've talked about this before too, and I've been ignored by what I want to say those who are too arrogant to acknowledge a woman, maybe, or someone who hasn't spent a lot of time in the circles of in the in the circles of communication, information sharing. Not because I didn't want to, but because I was never looked at as a viable. I honestly don't know why. It possibly has to do with my culture and my being a Christian. But I don't want to zero in on the reason, or I don't want that to be part of the discussion, actually. Um, but that clock, and since then I've watched like a few episodes of the Antique Roadshow. Um, Within that show, and maybe some people realize and know the connection to and how the antiques, um particularly in regard to what I'm talking about, um it's like an emergence of the importance of the technology of the clock. And so the war of Ukraine and Russia, depending on the certain aspects of the cultures involved and the historical cultures, as in when that clock was first designed, what was the historical culture of the Ukrainian people and the Russian people? And where was the conflict? Was it a religious conflict, or uh, or, um, a claiming of technology conflict? Is what I think is the more and most recent uh, motivation or drive of that battle. Um, and so I think if they get a hold of themselves, they can possibly end the war as soon as possible. Um, and I don't know if they even realize what the conflict is or what they're fighting about and for, other than I don't know, because I haven't looked into it that much. You assume, or I know I have assumed over the years, that war has only to do with land ownership and land control. But when you consider the fact of the technology and that the different the and it goes back to Einstein, and to realize Einstein did not allow for um, uh, how did they put it? Did they put it miraculous? Like miraculous. Einstein did not allow for miraculous movement. Like it's exactly what is being talked about in the articles I just pulled up about diamond energy and um, an energy field affecting movement without actual physical touch. Um, Gosh, it's interesting because it brings up the whole concept of the invisible hand within the the scholastic community of ethics, and that whole concept, and that not really being an explainable uh, concept, and that comes into play in Einstein's denial of a certain, I can't remember how it's put. I'm sorry, I should, but I didn't realize I was going to start making these dot to dot connections within the research that I've done in different um, trains of thought that I've read about. And I can't even remember the opposition of mine within, but it was like he won, and this other technology and entire system of theory, um, which is based on positive energy, positive and good um, uh, theory. And so when I began to realize just within my day to day activities, the things that I just talked about, and the clock in town square in Russia being the actual reason for the war, and the people involved might not even realize it. Like the most important uh, invention or reinvention or upgrade of the regular clock, because it includes um, dimensional existence on Earth, dimensional time, time warps, time portals, within that physical uh, reinvention of the clock, I want to say. And so it's it's really important information, and it even comes into play. And then within my daily activities, and noticing my the physical drain that I feel after I've driven, and the very irritated psychological state that I was in. I drove an electric vehicle one time, and I ridden an electric bicycle a few times, and now I just walk by. I don't even, because I don't like the way that I psychologically and physically feel after riding an electric bicycle or driving the electric car that I drove. It doesn't really matter what make or model the actual car was. It has to do with the electric car technology, and I can't really apologize to the automobile industry, because I don't need more cars on the road anyway. Um, and I don't want to get sarcastic here. Um, the positive, so when I notice that physical, and then I notice, gosh, it seems like it took me twice as long, and it seems like my clock sped up because I really can't believe that an hour has passed, like a historical hour, like the same amount of time that, I experienced 20 years ago. um I can't believe that that was an actual hour, but wait a minute, my watch says it was an hour. um but it doesn't seem like it took me an hour. And sometimes it's in the opposite manner. And I truly believe that it has to do with the electrical fields that I pass through on my walk from point A to point B, wherever it is. And so it's like my watch speeds up. I'm not watching it speed up because I'm not paying that close of attention. Um, as I'm walking. It's like I'm having a developing theory, but it corresponds and correlates to the information I just found on the internet about where it said a positive electrical field of um, as it moves. Now I got to find it because, first of all, I have to reference it. And second of all, I don't want to get it wrong so that I'm looking like an idiot. Let me see if I can find it really quick, which tab this is. Electric potential. This again is on Wikipedia. And I have to state here because I've already come upon a reference to, or what can be, I think, I shouldn't say that. I'm not going to say that right now. But I will, and I'm not going to say that either because I'm not going to allow, okay. Here's electric potential Wikipedia. The electric potential is defined as the amount of work energy needed to move a unit of electric charge from a reference point to the specific point in an electric field. And that's part of what I was looking at, but there was a more precise thing, and I really don't want to sign off without sharing the more precise information that I found. Increased positive electrical potential. Let me go back to this really quickly. No, that isn't it. can't find it. It talked about the gosh, and I don't know how to connect one video to another. Um, I don't know how to connect one video to another so that I can go back and connect after I find the like I don't know how to edit a video so that when I find 15 minutes ago, but it talked about a positive and negative charge moving through, um, or as a positive charge moves towards an electric field, um, and the effect that has the to with towards or with, and that a positive charge has and this might be elementary information to some, the fact that diamond as an energy source is the new part of, and what isn't being stated is that what I suspect, intrinsically for some reason, is that a diamond is positive energy, a positive energy flow. But the specific diamond mining is that and how that correlates to time change, like time slowing down, speeding up, and having a clock that, and I had even posted that on my Facebook page, that if physics are changing to such a degree, which is, what a lot of the documentaries and stuff that I've watched have implied, and the science world cannot keep up with, and we need to form new theories. Einstein's theories aren't holding true anymore, and we're a little nervous. um uh, and I think part of it has to do with trains of thought. Einstein not accepting something that was inevitable. Um, the part of, gosh, I should have done. I should have organized my information sources and my thoughts, but again, I didn't realize I was going to start having these dot to dot connections in my head as to how all of this is coming into play, and possibly coming to a very positive and good conclusion, for everyone. Um, or being able to come to a solution which allows everyone to be equal participant, and in an upcoming and newly emerging economy and diverse existence as individuals, or as individual cultures, because of regions, and a tropical region versus a desert region versus a region somewhere in between, which is what the United States really is. or at least it used to be. Now, even the weather in the United States, from the information that I receive, is kind of going um, with the flooding and stuff like that. But I believe that it's all going to settle. Whereas we'll still have a hurricane season, and I'm sorry, I'm not trying to sound arrogant or all knowing. I just think that in consideration to everything chaotic um stuff that's been going on, and honestly I think that the the orbit of the planet Pluto has had a lot of effect on, has had a lot to do with what's been going on weather-wise in around the globe. Um, that, in addition to some other factors, but I think that's a larger factor than a lot of people have acknowledged. Um, which I don't understand why. And, I don't want to continue to take it personally. Well, Don Henderson's talked about that, so we don't want to acknowledge that, because that's the way I start to feel. Um, and the time difference and the speeding up of, and what no one believed when I first in Lakewood a few years back. And suddenly I could have sworn it was, this is going to sound crazy, but if you kept up on any of the information that's been circulating about the solar system and time and physics and all this stuff, and everybody's going crazy trying to stabilize things. And what I think really needs to happen is that that the science world and the physics world needs to accept that Einstein's theories aren't holding true anymore, and we need to start developing to keep up with the fact that time portals exist, time warps exist, and part of his thing, I think, was to control and encapsulate time warp um, phenomenon uh, without acknowledging the other part of, um, and again, it has to do with the movement of something without it having physical contact, being able to, someone being able to move, not necessarily a cup. And that's interesting too, because I've thought, I've commented on that too, that it would actually be easier for a person to, and I really don't like referencing Star Trek, because I'm sorry, I really don't like Star Trek. I really don't like Captain Kirk. I don't like William Shatner at all. Sorry, Mr. Shatner, but that's just the way it is. It rubbed me the wrong way. Um, but it would be easier for a person, because we have live, uh, our physical makeup is of more motion, more live cells. It would be easier to move a person without touching them than to move an object that has a more solid existence. Um, it's really interesting to think of, and to also acknowledge, as a Christian, I can see all of this uh, as an acceptable theory. But what I don't accept is in the development of the use of diamond energy in place of the the uh, the historical use of electricity, which um, I don't need or want children to be used as sources of energy. Um, without We are sources of energy, but if in fact we acknowledge that we're sources of energy and we're energy, that we can develop that we can develop uh, the technology of diamond energy, because it's all part of uh, developing and accepting instead of denying because of intellectual jealousy or whatever. Um, that you really have to people move, but people move within a system that acknowledges to the person being moved that this isn't a punishment, and we don't want this to be a negative thing, and we don't this and and there's not secret little knowledge that human beings are and are sources of opposing energy just within ourselves. um and to acknowledge, we can develop ways of, hey, I need you to ways to do such without separating mothers and their biological mothers from their biological children, um, because that's a whole nother topic of how that and why that uh, system of I don't want to go into that topic. Um, that with okay, in an area where diamonds are being dug, if I have two people and their communication frequency levels are different, and one's being pulled up too high that they're not comfortable physiologically, psychologically, because it happens in my cranial area, um and affects my mood in a negative manner when my frequency level, my natural communication level, is pulled down to a lower frequency. It's physiologically painful, and it affects my mood in a negative manner, and I don't like that. And that affects time. Those differences of those communication levels, even between humans, it affects time, and it'll either depending on who's uh, and right now I'm trying to think, like, the because there will be different factors that come into play to accept this theory. Um, and one is that this person is riding on an electric bicycle and they are moving towards me. And I don't know what their frequency level that they naturally communicate with or communicate in, but if they've been trained to accept a frequency level and have not acknowledged themselves what is, or been able to acknowledge for themselves what is a more comfortable frequency level for them to communicate at. Um, uh, that will come into play because they're having their own conflict within their own mind about their own mood and their own frequency levels, and their own experiences. And that all affects time because it's all kinetic energy, it's movement, and the increased population of people on Earth. And that all can speed up or slow down time. So it's all very intricate workings, and it's and it's almost like our minds are intricate, are working as timepieces. And then, of course, what comes into play and affects an actual clock readings is, or can, is it's travel time and hemisphere, time zones, and all that. When you like really start to think about it all, you can make logical sense um, to this theory that I'm developing based on information that I have uh, accessed um, through different documentaries and shows that I've watched. And people who are directly involved, as in the producing the shows and everything, they have a certain set of, they have a certain set of acknowledgments in regard and in relation to their real time um, contributions and when that was actually filmed or made. Um, Picking at my face. Um, to just to say that I hope that I can learn how to edit my this live stream so that I can first of all find the exact information that I had found just minutes before I started the live stream, and secondly, so that I can possibly, or I don't like to cut and splice because the information, even though it's long and the stream is, I don't like to splice information for reasons that I've talked about before. Um, but to edit by way of like an addendum to what and the information that I had talked about and was looking for, I found, and here it is. That's different. Um, so I'll end my live stream here and just say that the time and space theories of Einstein need to be put to the side, and the other theorists from the same era and more recent can be included or actually possibly overtake Einstein's theories, because it seems like Einstein's theories worked and held true. They no longer are. So those who are lineal and benefited financially from Einstein and all his theories need to either participate and accept uh, a, a an emerging new theoretical um, existence, possibilities. I don't know what the right word is here. Um, but in other words, Einstein's people need to take a back seat for a while and allow uh, the other parts of physics to emerge, because it needs to emerge. The acceptance of time portals and movement of without the actual physical touch of our human existence. And the younger generations are who are really experiencing, and by not and I'm trying to help them, the younger generations, the youthful generations who are experiencing what I'm talking about, um, to allow them to participate in the this new sort of, I don't know, magical world that actually is real.